The ABC 17 Stormtrack Severe Weather Special, supported by these sponsors, starts now.
Severe weather season is here, and 2017 has already seen its share of strong storms in mid-Missouri. Good evening, and thanks for joining us for the ABC 17 Stormtrack Severe Weather Special. I'm Chief Meteorologist Sharon Ray here with the ABC 17 Stormtrack Weather Team.
This severe weather season is already keeping the ABC 17 Stormtrack Weather Team busy tracking all modes of the season, including lightning, winds, tornadoes, hail, and flooding.
We have complete coverage on what to expect with the season, including a look at dangers it brings, new technology helping us track it, and of course, Sharon's look ahead at what we're anticipating for the severe weather season.
That and more is coming up, but first we kick off our ABC 17 Severe Weather Special with a look at the factors that play a part in the type of severe weather we get in a given season. ABC 17 Stormtrack meteorologist Brittany Beggs shows us how El Nino and La Nina can contribute to the stormy season and how they impact our chances for tornadoes.
Well, as you know, we were in a La Nina this past winter, but over the past couple of months, temperatures have been warming across the equatorial Pacific waters to now a near neutral phase. I wanted to find out, is there a correlation to severe weather events in mid-Missouri and in more particular, tornado outbreaks? If we do have a tornado outbreak, you'll notice from La Nina building into a La Nina, again, April, during the month of April, west of 63, the probability is lower, under 20%, especially south of Highway 50, under 10%. You'll notice east, though, again, if we transition to another La Nina in April, it intensifies in southeastern mid-Missouri. Now, the probability of tornado outbreak, if we transition into El Nino, it actually lowers for areas west of Highway 54. So if we look at the frequency, comparing this to the highest EF1s, or again, greater, stronger tornadoes, you'll notice the frequency is the highest during an El Nino pattern. Transitioning to a neutral phase, the frequency is highest with weaker tornadoes. So if we look at the past tracks when there were fatal tornadoes from 1950 to 2015, there were approximately 100. Here are all the tracks. You'll notice the orange color indicated by El Nino year, a La Nina indicated by the blue year, and we do have the white color that is indicated from the neutral phase. Removing the La Nina and El Nino years, we're left with the neutral, where these tracks were more. And you'll notice there's a correlation south of Interstate 70, in particular southwestern mid-Missouri and the western part of the state. So if we continue to stay into a neutral phase, we'll have to keep an eye especially on our southern half. We already had that fatal tornado out of southeastern Missouri, and that is indicated on here. So if the equatorial waters shift and it becomes warmer or cooler, that will actually shift our probabilities as well. So stay tuned. April and May will be getting busy. We'll have to keep an eye on southern mid-Missouri and in particular southwest mid-Missouri this upcoming spring season.
Now, tornadoes have already torn through several parts of the state within the last 2 weeks, including one that killed a man in southeastern Missouri. This is some of the damage left behind in Perryville from the EF4 twister. You can see it destroyed more than 100 homes. Tragedy also struck the western and central parts of the state just last week when tornadoes touched down and tore apart towns. In Oak Grove, nearly 500 homes were ripped apart. That's about 30 minutes east of Kansas City. This is video from the area a day after the storm. The National Weather Service says that twister was an EF3. An EF2 tornado also touched down in Smithville, north of Kansas City, where about 60 homes were damaged. And mid-Missouri wasn't spared from last week's storms. A confirmed EF0 tornado touched down near Rocky Mount near Eldon. That tornado had winds of 85 miles an hour and was around 50 yards wide. One person we talked to says the storm came in quickly, snapping a tree in half before it flew through a window and damaged boats. In Chariton County, more than a dozen train cars were toppled over. We also got reports of several homes and barns with damage. Now, many mid-Missourians took cover for tornado warnings, including those who live in Cooper County. Storms there left about a 5-mile path of damage. A viewer sent us these pictures of a toppled tree and scattered furniture. Their porch was also left in shambles. Fortunately, no injuries were reported from this round of weather.
Well, those storms have Missouri Attorney General Josh Hawley warning of potential scammers who targeted homes and damaged by storms.
ABC 17's Jordana Marie spoke with the Attorney General, who says he wants to know about these types of scams.
For the second time this month, Attorney General Josh Hawley is warning residents against people looking to take advantage of their misfortune.
And my office is in charge of prosecuting those who would try to scam Missouri's residents.
Hawley calls these scammers storm chasers, following around severe weather, looking to take advantage of people.
Oftentimes they'll demand a cash payment up front, tell you that they're giving you a big discount, but they want to be paid now.
Hawley's office says some businesses may also try to price gouge their customers, raising prices on essential needs that goes beyond supply and demand.
We see it's not really that the supply has gone down, it's that the person, the bad actor, is trying to profit. So it typically happens with food, happens with water, gasoline is another one, kerosene.
Another type of scam the AG's office sees are charity scams. Hawley said sometimes the fake charities will have names similar to the real ones.
The Attorney General's office keeps a list of charities registered in the state of Missouri, so call us if you're in doubt.
Hawley's office has not received any scam calls after the Perryville tornado, but he said he isn't taking that for granted. He insists on residents calling if they think something seems suspicious.
And we can help sort through, is this a scam? Does this sound legitimate? Have we received complaints in the past about this contractor?
Hawley's office does have a hotline to report scams, and you can report them online as well.
And you can read more about these potential scams and how to report them on our ABC17news.com website. Strong storms also have the potential to bring down power lines, and electric companies say downed lines are just as dangerous as they are inconvenient. ABC 17's Sarah Massler-Donar joins us with a look at what to do if winds take down a power line in your neighborhood.
If severe weather knocks out your power, electric companies say they're working overtime to make sure you're not left in the dark.
And be patient and let us know, and let us know that we're not here sleeping. We're working to do everything we can to get them back on as quickly as we possibly can.
Companies try to prepare in advance of bad weather that could cause outages. They even cut back trees that could interfere with power lines during a storm. But sometimes broken lines happen, and if you come across one laying in the street, experts recommend staying far away from it because there could be 7,000 volts of electricity dissipating right into the ground beneath you.
Voltage acts similarly to ripples in a pond. Watch. If I throw this rock into the pond behind me, the ripples will start strong in the center and dissipate outwards until they disappear. It's the same with voltage. As it moves from the source of the fault or a broken line, the voltage drops. And if you step on two different voltages, you could be electrocuted immediately.
Your body acts like a wire hooking up between points that have different voltages. And the voltage all wants to be the same. So it'll go from where it is greater to where it is less. You are the electricity middleman, and it can kill you instantly if you step very close to it.
Boone Electric employees say they post up in their so-called war room during severe weather, taking calls and coordinating linemen to figure out problems so that they can solve them quickly.
And if the power goes out and you decide to use your generator, make sure it's operating in a well-ventilated area and use an extension cord to plug in appliances you want to run. Boone Electric also recommends calling if you have an outage so it can pinpoint where it started and figure out the problem. Coming up, we're looking back at what last year's severe weather brought here in mid-Missouri. We'll also break down the different ways you can get struck by lightning. And later in the newscast, I'll have my forecast for the spring and summer, and we'll show you what kind of weather we may see. Welcome back. Severe weather is something we see every year in mid-Missouri. Last year brought all modes of severe weather, including a weak tornado. Now, before we look ahead on what could come this year, let's take a look back at what mid-Missouri dealt with in 2016. Following a warm winter, it seemed like spring got off to a quick start as March 2016 was warmer than average, but also quiet with no reports of severe storms. April also came in warmer and drier than average and was fairly quiet with only 4 days with severe weather. The first round of storms on the 10th brought large hail and heavy rain. Another line of storms on the 19th moved in by early evening, producing a weak tornado near Ladonia in northeast Audrain County. While it was impressive to watch, fortunately, it only caused damage to a machine shed and there were no injuries. April ended with active weather on the 26th as a line of strong to severe storms moved across mid-Missouri, producing numerous reports of large hail and damaging winds. May was surprisingly quiet with only 4 severe weather days, with storms producing mostly large hail, including golf ball size hail, which fell in Marshall on the 26th. Strong winds were also recorded near Versailles late that afternoon as storms rolled through. June was hot and dry with temperatures at 90 or above from the 9th through the 27th, with a record high temperature of 99 on the 15th. The sweltering heat came with dry weather, but in July, we made up for it with almost 11 inches of rain for the month and stormy weather. A line of morning storms on the 6th of July brought widespread wind damage and a weak tornado that briefly touched down east of Harrisburg in northern Boone County. Another round of storms with damaging winds moved through on the 13th. The active weather continued for the start of August with heavy rain and flooding from the 1st through the 3rd, and yet another round of heavy rain on August 9th. Downed power lines aren't the only form of electricity you need to watch out for in a storm.
ABC 17 Stormtrack forecaster Emily Klaus shows us the different ways you can get struck by lightning and its dangers.
So just how hot is a bolt of lightning? Thinking around 54,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Now that's 5 times hotter than the surface of the sun. So if you do get struck by lightning, it's not a pretty picture. So here's just a few lightning strikes and how you can get struck by lightning during a thunderstorm. So the first one we're going to discuss is a direct strike. Now they do occur in open spaces and they are the potentially most deadly because you are being directly struck with that very hot bolt of lightning. The next bolt I will be talking about is a side flash. Now notice this is when a bolt of lightning hits a tall object such as a tree and then it actually strikes the person from that object. This happens when you usually take shelter under a tree. The next one I'm going to be talking about is also extremely dangerous. It's actually a ground current. It's when the lightning strikes a tree, the current travels through the ground, and then it strikes you, causing actually the most death and injuries of all the strikes. And then the last one I'm going to be discussing is conduction. That's when metal provides an easy path for lightning, and this one actually causes the most indoor casualties, and it actually can happen through outlets, faucets, windows, showers, and doors, which is actually one of the reasons why you're not supposed to take a shower during a lightning storm.
38 people total died from lightning strikes nationwide in 2016, including one person right here in Missouri.
The National Weather Service reports that of the deaths, the most happened during the months of July and August. Reliable weather data makes all the difference when it comes to tracking dangerous storms. After the break, we'll show you a new tool the University of Missouri now has that helps us hone in on storms moving through. And still ahead, I have a look at what we can expect for this severe weather season. I'll show you my long-range forecast in the next 15 minutes. Weather data is crucial when it comes to analyzing severe weather so that we can keep you safe when storms strike.
Within the last few years, the University of Missouri has installed a new weather radar. I talked to one professor who says this radar is extremely beneficial to the region.
For nearly 2 years, the skyline of Columbia has been home to an important multi-million-dollar weather instrument, and it's all thanks to a grant through the National Science Foundation. It's this weather radar that sits on South Farm in Columbia that not only helps the University of Missouri with research, but closes the radar gap in mid-Missouri not fully covered by radars located in Kansas City or St. Louis. MU Professor Neil Fox explains how big a benefit the radar is.
We're obviously located about halfway between St. Louis and Kansas City. Each of those cities has a weather service radar. Those radars, by the time their beam gets here from 100 miles away, the beam is way above the surface.
Nearly 10,000 feet to be exact, which causes the radar to miss important storm information at the surface.
If we have a radar located nearby, we're looking closer to the surface, we're seeing a lot more detail than those radars are.
Data provided by the radar is already being implemented by local National Weather Service offices, but for the first time, the ABC 17 Stormtrack weather team will have access to the data to bring you more accurate information when severe weather strikes.
Research with it, which we're hoping will help improve other products and other warning systems and our understanding of the weather, particularly in the mid-Missouri area.
And with severe weather season from now until the end of May, the Mizzou radar will provide data that will keep those in mid-Missouri safer. Now, the university hopes that through the information gathered during the research period, they are able to secure another grant to keep the radar operational. Sharon?
While wind and tornadoes usually get associated with dangerous weather, flooding actually typically leads to the most deaths each year.
An ABC 17 Stormtrack forecaster, Bridget Mahoney, shows us how much water it takes to make a situation turn deadly.
During severe weather season, it is common to see tornado, thunderstorm, and flash flood watches and warnings. To most, tornadoes and lightning may seem the most threatening, but each year more deaths occur from flash floods than any other thunderstorm-related hazard. To the naked eye, flash floods may seem less than threatening, but it only takes 6 inches of flood water to knock over an adult and 12 inches of rushing water to stall your car, lose control, be swept away, tipped over, or completely flipped. Roads that appear safe are more dangerous than you think. MoDOT monitors road conditions during severe weather, closing roads that are deemed impassable. Do not ignore these warnings. Underestimating these conditions leads to many preventable related flood deaths. It is never safe to walk or drive into floodwaters. For the ABC 17 Stormtrack weather team, I'm Bridget Mahoney.
The latest data from the National Weather Service shows in 2015, 176 people died in flooding. That includes 22 people who died in the floods here in our state.
Wind, rip currents, and cold weather were the other highest numbers for weather-related deaths in 2015. Severe weather season is here, and we now have a better idea of what kind of weather we can expect this year. Up next, I'll show you what kinds of weather we're expecting for this spring and summer, and we'll explain what contributes to it. During the winter, we had a La Nina, which has been weakening, and we now have a neutral weather pattern. And the probability of a neutral pattern is high during the spring months, but drops down as forecast models indicate we could see an El Nino pattern returning by summer. However, for the spring months, I based the spring forecast on the neutral weather pattern. Then those years that had neutral weather patterns followed by warm, dry winters. Took those analog years and found that most of the time we ended up with a warm spring. So this spring, I expect slightly warmer than average temperatures for mid-Missouri and near normal precipitation. Although we could have some very wet periods, there could also be a lot of dry weather mixed in. The wet weather will stay to our north. So near average rainfall is expected this spring. Now, the winter weather pattern is lingering, and it looks like it's going to be slow to retreat. The jet stream, which normally drops south in the winter and brings in these areas of low pressure, is going to continue to keep this pattern going into the early spring. What that means is we'll have periods of cold and warm weather as well as rather active weather as these low pressure centers move through. However, as we head into the latter part of the spring, the jet stream will retreat back to the north as usual and will quiet down quite a bit here in our weather. So with that, some of the spring highlights we expect is an active storm season. Now, as Brittany showed you earlier in the show, she found that weak tornadoes are more common during a neutral weather pattern, which we'll see this spring. So there is a better chance of weak tornadoes with the storms that move through. The most active months look to be March and April. Will quiet down in May, and overall the spring looks like it's going to come in warmer than average. Now, as we head into summer, it looks like June and July could be pretty hot with above average temperatures. June will be fairly active with the potential for some wind events or perhaps a weak tornado. However, it looks like we'll start drying out July through early August, and as El Nino returns, we could see more rain later in the summer. Thanks for joining us for the ABC 17 Stormtrack Severe Weather Special. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter for the latest tracking and storm reports during the stormy season.
You can also download our ABC 17 Stormtrack weather app for alerts and live Doppler radar.
When storms strike this summer and spring, make sure to watch ABC 17 News and check our website for live tracking and the latest forecast.
And if you missed any part of tonight's Severe Weather Special, you can also watch it now online. To find it, just go to abc17news.com. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great night.
You've been watching the ABC 17 Stormtrack Severe Weather Special, supported by these sponsors.